morning to you. It's 8 o'clock on the start of a Thursday. Glad you're with us for Second Cup. Joined by a very special guest this morning, Councilwoman Zeneta Everhart. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You know, maybe that goes to show that this is, typically you are entering what has been a boys' club.
A man's world.
And I broke it all up.
You sure did. On the air just a little while ago, I said, Common Councilman, and then I corrected myself, Common Councilwoman Zeneta Everhart.
The women are in the building.
And you know what? It's about time. Lizzo would say it best, right?
Yes.
Glad you're with us, Zeneta.
Thank you for having me.
Look, you are a friend to both of us, but you have a very important role nowadays as a lawmaker in the city of Buffalo. I mean, this is a really big deal. I mean, breaking that glass ceiling, right?
It is a big deal. It's a huge deal, and it's about time, like you just said. Women have not been on the council in over 10 years, and I'm only the second woman to represent the Masten district ever. That's insane.
Yeah.
Right?
And coming into, not only as a woman, but just as a council person new to the council, what have been the top things that you've identified that you're like, okay, either this is going well or this needs to change?
Well, first of all, everything needs to change. I'll start there. But for me, it really is, my work that I did for then Senator, now Congressman Kennedy. It was all about, I'm born and raised on the east side of Buffalo, right? And so a lot of the issues that our residents are dealing with on the east side of Buffalo were my own issues, right? In my own life and with my own family. And so for me, it's about bringing those things to light and bringing those things to the table and making sure that we're addressing things around housing, right? And around food insecurity. Those are things that I had issues with, right? My family had issues with. And so I know firsthand how to deal with those issues. Right. And so for me, it's really, really important that we get to the root issues around things like that, but also making sure that, our homeowners have access to resources to help them fix up their homes. Our renters who've been renting apartments for 20 years, they've already bought a house, right? How are we helping them to purchase a home in their neighborhood that they too have been born and raised into? And so there's a myriad of issues. And then of course there's education. Education is very, very important. I've told my story many times. I'm a high school dropout, right? But I definitely, decided one day that I was going to go back to school and get 2 college degrees. And I want our youth to know that it's possible, no matter what roadblocks are in their way. They can do anything that they want to do.
We're going to talk about education in just a moment. I want to bring up Melly's comment, though, because apparently she knows your dad.
Everyone knows my dad.
She says amazing women, reminds me of the same person her dad has loved him in grammar school.
Oh my goodness. Yes, Waterfront. I was actually just talking to some of our, alumni from Waterfront Elementary, right across the street from here. I went there from kindergarten, 8th grade, and we're planning an alumni party.
I love that.
Like, welcome to Buffalo, where people are like, oh my God, and I know her dad.
Right, exactly.
That's so Buffalo. So Buffalo.
Jeanette says you're an inspiration. So let's talk about this event that you've got coming up on June 19th, 3 to 9 p.m. at MLK Park at the casino area. This is a huge family reunion of sorts.
It is the inaugural Masten family reunion. One of the things that I've talked about continuously since I announced that I was running is that we need to bring back that village mentality, right? Our community, we don't know each other. Our neighbors, we don't know our neighbors anymore, right? I remember being in my neighborhood and everyone in the community knew who I was and I knew who they were and I knew who their kids were. And we don't do that anymore. We don't come out and, fellowship with each other. Yeah. And so we are bringing the Masten family reunion together on June 19th.
That's Juneteenth, right?
Absolutely, right? What better day to celebrate family than on Juneteenth?
And you said we were just talking to, because we're going to be at the parade also. So you're going to be at the parade, and then we're going to this. It's going to be a big, long, very exciting day.
It is.
Okay, so a lot going. Question when we talk about like the neighborhood feel and things like that. Why is it? Is it because we're just all on our phones these days, or we're all so into things these days?
You know what? It's everyone trying to get to that American dream. Right. We're busy. We're like compounding our lives with all these things. We're working, we're going to school, we're taking care of our kids, and no one's taking a moment to breathe, right? We don't breathe anymore. And I miss that. I am an 80s baby. I was raised by the community, right? I was raised by everyone, and we don't do that anymore. And for me, truthfully, that goes to the root of a lot of the issues I think that we have in our community. When our youth are getting involved in crime and things like that, we are not taking control of our youth and allowing them to see that this is theirs. It's their neighborhood. So they have to protect it and take care of it.
So what are we going to do June 19th, 3 to 9? What's the plan?
It is going to be a fun-filled day. We have all types of lawn games. We have rock climbing wall will be there. There will be bounce houses. There will be live bands. Shout out to the Colored Musicians Club who will be playing. We have a number of performances. There'll be a DJ. Of course, we're going to break out the line dancing. So come on out. There will be barbecue. McDonald's is also a sponsor. They're going to be bringing burgers. So it is going to be a beautiful day. And we're going to end the day with a beautiful fireworks show.
Oh, cool. Yes. That's awesome. I have a question. What's like the cool line dance nowadays?
Oh my God. You know what it is? It's Tamia.
Okay.
Tamia has this song and I love it so much and we've all always loved it, and she created this line dance for it and I absolutely can't do it.
Because you know that was going to be the next question.
I know all of them. I'm telling you, I know all the line dances, but I have not nailed down the Tamia. So if you know the Tamia line dance, come out to the fan reunion next week and teach me.
Yeah,
Please come to yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna Google
I
it.
can't do it. I can't. I'm trying.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna...
Yes, that's it.
I love a good instructional video too.
No, help me help you.
Gets me through this.
Exactly.
I like it when they really slow things down.
It's so complicated. It's so complicated.
This is so cute too. Jeanette says, listen, raised in the streets with friends in person, not through our phones.
Yes, Jeanette. Absolutely. She is right on point with that.
You know, it's so interesting because, you know, I want to like go back to 2 years ago. Speaking of community and the people who make the community happen, you were directly affected by the violence that happened on May 14th.
Yeah.
And Zaire, your son, shot, survived. He's back to work is what you're saying, and that's great news. But the one thing, you know, I when I was talking to somebody on the street there, and, you know, I was there that day trying to speak and get the sense of what was happening in this community. One person came up to me and said, Zeneta's baby was shot. Zeneta's baby was shot. And it never really dawned on me until I've, you know, obviously been reflecting about this for years now.
Yeah.
How tight-knit this community actually is.
Very. Well, you know, we live blocks from there, right? We live right up Jefferson. Zaire worked there for a couple of years, and he walks to work. He rides his bike to work. We're a part of that neighborhood. People for years would always say, I saw Zaire walking up Jefferson on his way to work. So yeah, the east side of Buffalo has always been a tight-knit community. Everyone really does know each other, right? And, you know, 514 was just an example, the love that came out of 514, right? I tell people all the time, still today, like we get beautiful little packages put on our porch.
That's so nice.
And you know, people are still reaching out and sending love and sending cards to Zaire. And we got a beautiful, I'm still trying to figure out who did this, but one day we came home and there was this beautiful lawn sign in the shape of a buffalo with Zaire's name in it.
I love that.
And it was so beautiful. And we still have that in our lawn. And I absolutely love it. So thank you to whoever did that. It's so beautiful. But the love is always real on the east side.
And so, you know, we actually were asking Zeneta because like we knew each other. We worked together a long time ago.
Spectrum News.
A lifetime ago.
It wasn't
even called Spectrum News back at the
time.
It
was YNN.
It was YNN, you might remember. Yeah, so we were together then. I mean, Zaire was a little kid.
He was a kid.
You called him the kid.
The kid. I still call him. He's 23, but he's still a kid.
Yeah. So, you know, we asked you ahead of the show, but probably everybody wants to know, how is he doing these days and what is he up to?
Zaire is doing amazing. He really is. He is really resilient. Every day I see him, I'm just like, how is he just like doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he's doing this, but he's doing really good. He's back at work at Tops part-time. He really wanted to go back. And, you know, and that is a beautiful thing. Right. But he's also doing some work with the Tower Foundation, and he has a puppy. So he's busy.
Yes, we all know how that happens. With
what kind of puppy?
And Katie leans in. I knew it was coming. She's a puppy person.
What kind of puppy did he get?
We have a mini golden doodle, and his name is Soul.
How old now?
He is 8 months now.
Oh my God, that's the time that my dog like made me want to just lose my mind. I was like, do you stop doing
Do
all this
you
stuff that you're
ever
doing?
stop? Oh my goodness. Soul is so busy. He is so playful and fun and loving and yes, hyper.
Energy.
And he loves to eat the paper towel out of the bathroom garbage. So
Why do
it's
they do
I don't what is that? I don't know.
I love all the comments that are coming in. Anita says, good for him, proud mama. Shonda says, good for him, love always wins.
Yes.
Kelly weighing in here. My mom weighing in here saying that my
Jan.
son is your biggest fan. And I really am,
Oh, hi, Mom.
Jan tunes in.
Yeah, she does. Here's what it is. I think that you as a person have been so inspiring to so many people.
Thank you.
And I think that your story and your message of resilience, but also education is so super important.
Yes,
and the work that we all have to do.
We all do.
To make this place a better place.
We are all here at the table and we have to stay at the table. Education is very important. One of the things that I had the honor of doing this week actually was being the commencement speaker for a graduation, but it was a graduation for those who got their GED.
Cool.
So it absolutely, as a person who has a GED, that absolutely warmed my heart. And that was my message to them. You can do anything. Yeah. It does not matter whether or not you have a high school diploma or a GED. You can go anywhere in the world. You just have to set your mind to it.
And reading too became so paramount, especially as you were handing out books and you were doing your book drive.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about that in the community too.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's the base of education so much because we can teach ourselves so much when we can read.
Right. Absolutely. And it starts with our kids. Right? We have to give our children books that teach them about the world around them, right? We can't just keep our children in a bubble and think that, they're going to grow up and then they come out into the world, but then they're going to experience all these different types of people. And we never told them that there are all these different types of people, right? We all stay within our 5-block radius, 5 square miles of our house, and we don't come outside to see what else is out there. And we can't wait until we're adults. And I think that that's a lot of the problem that we have. And so for me, it's about teaching our kids that through books now while they're young, right? And we have so many things, going on with Zeneta and Zaire's book club. And definitely be on the lookout, everyone. We are still, our link is still live. Our Amazon wish list is still live. So if you would like to donate a book for us to distribute to the community, please go on there and purchase a book. But we have an amazing announcement coming up in the next couple months.
Oh, so. Give us a clue. Give us a clue.
More books.
Okay.
That's the clue.
Okay. And that's more exposure. Like books are exposure. Like you're saying, like, okay, maybe I can't physically get and drive my kid, 5 hours right there, but I can expose them to so many different things just by reading.
Just by reading. Just by reading.
What is the link for people to go to get information about Zeneta?
It's literally on Amazon. It's our wish list. It's Zeneta and Zaire's book club wish list on Amazon.
John, our producer, can put a link in the comments here. Zeneta, I want to make sure that we talk specifically about education here. Yeah. You are in charge of the education committee for the City of Buffalo's Common Council. Yes. And one thing in particular that came out of yesterday's Board of Education meeting, there was a special session to address some comments that were made by the school board president, Sharon Belton-Cotman. Belton-Cotman.
Yes.
And what she said has some people a little upset. A lot of the teachers are a little bit upset. We're talking about school violence, which is a huge issue in the city of Buffalo. Yeah. What she said that caused some controversy is this, quote, "We pay teachers handsomely in this district and we expect for them to rise to the occasion at all times. And I'm not necessarily convinced that people are getting the understanding to whom much is given, much is required." And the perception among these teachers and a lot of the people who work in the district is that because they were given more money in a new contract, and by their account, it was a smaller amount of money than perhaps they wanted, that they now need to step in and solve and fix and handle the violence in schools as opposed to calling people in to help. How do you respond to this?
My response to that is that I'm not going to respond directly to that because I don't know all the details on the, both sides of that. But my response to that is that as a community, we have to get to the root of the issues that our children are dealing with, right? Why are our children being more violent in schools? What's happening at home? What's happening in their neighborhoods? What's happening in their community? What's happening in their minds, right? For me, that's what it's about. I can't speak to that directly, but I will just say that as a community, Everyone needs to get at the table. I've been talking about this in my education committee meetings over and over again about how we have to get to the root cause. We can't just come out and be upset because a fight happened. We need to be upset about why the fights are happening. What is actually happening with our kids?
How do we address that in schools? How do we address the fighting?
But the thing, for me, the thing is, do we need to address it in school, right? We need to address it before they get to school. We need to address it in the house. We need to address it with the parents. We need to address it with, maybe we need to bring in mental health professionals outside of school, right? We can't just rely on the school system to do everything for our children. That is not fair to them. We have to all come to the table, and that includes, yes, the school administration, but it also has to include our families. And the families have to be at the table to have those discussions around what's going on with our kids, what's happening with them.
I just want to push you a little bit further on this, Zeneta, because of your position now with the council and on the committee. The fact is that this is happening in schools now, that there is violence in schools.
It is.
So is it incumbent upon the teachers to be those mediators, or is it incumbent upon the teachers to break up this fighting?
It's incumbent upon all of us to be mediators. It's incumbent on all of us. A teacher shouldn't just have to break up a fight. We all should be breaking up these fights, but we should be breaking up these fights before they get to school. We have to figure that out. That is the issue. We have to stop saying because it's happening in school, it's the school's problem. It is not. We have to start at the beginning. What is happening to our children? This is not just a one-off. You all heard the news. You see these fights are breaking out at all these schools. So clearly there is something that none of us are attacking and none of us are actually dealing with. This isn't just the school building's problem.
I think the thing I would wonder too is, how do we get parents involved? You know, there are some parents that are helicopter parents, right? They are on top of everything.
Yeah.
There are some parents who are less involved. How do we drag people in if they are not there right now? And how do we get them involved?
Right. What we do is we go directly to the parents and say, how can we best support you? There are support systems in our community for all different types of things to help families with their issues and whatever is going on with them. We have mental health assistance all over the place. Everywhere, every day, a new organization is popping up. They're getting grants to do help with youth and things like that. That is where we start. We go directly into the house and say, this is happening. We know it's happening. How can we help you? Who can we link you with? Who can we call and bring to the table so that they can assist you and your child in your house?
They have that information.
Yes, because that is where it starts. It doesn't just start in the school building.
I love what Sherry's saying here. It seems like the kids don't know how to communicate like we did in the 80s. And Shonda says, absent parents, broken homes. How do we fix that?
Well, the thing is that absent parents and broken homes, it may play a role in it, but it's also going back to the previous comment, right? We have to figure out what is happening with our kids. We have to talk to them. We have to create youth spaces where they feel safe, right? Who are they going to talk to when they're in a broken home? Who are they talking to about that broken home?
Right.
How did that divorce affect them, right? Who's having those conversations with them? Sometimes, it may come out in a violent way, but we have to give them that opportunity to speak about it.
That's a really great point. And Linda's also kind of saying this. There's a fight every day in my children's school. School stopped it, but they moved it to a local store and the parking lots around the school. So they're like taking it out of the building now. And it's like, meet me at the flagpole.
But that's what I mean. It's going to happen anyway.
Right.
That's my point, is that it's not just about the school building. We have to figure out what is going on with our youth, because we hear it, we see it. They're, on Facebook and Instagram, and they're meeting up to go fight in different areas. So there is something happening, and we have to get to the root of that.
Kind of makes me think back to your initial points when we talk about community, because if you're sitting outside with your neighbors and you're seeing something start, do you know what I mean? And now, like, the kids are like, oh, it's not just a random person I know, it's this person or that person.
Yes.
It's Joe, it's Mary, and they see me. You know what I mean? Like,
and our children don't know each other.
Right.
They don't know each other. The parents don't know each other. We have to change that.
I want to talk to you about what else is happening on the education committee, because we know there's so much going on. So what can we expect to come out of this?
Yeah, so literally out the gate, I started with the education committee. And what we did was, I want to bring information. For me, it's all about information. Information is power. And so what we've done over the last several months is every month, we have a meeting where we are bringing up a different topic. We've talked about workforce, we've talked about after school programs, we've talked about suspensions. And this month, we're actually will be focusing on what your kids can get involved in over the summer to keep them busy. Right. And so, yeah, so we're keeping up with those themes and just making sure that people know that there are programs out there. We need more programs for our youth, but there are a lot of programs out there currently operating that can help.
Peter wants you to run for president.
I'm on it. And Peter, you're going to be the campaign manager. Let's do it.
Knowing that you have that program coming up and you're trying to get people involved here, do you have concerns about the summer when it comes to students and,
Absolutely.
and the lack of things going on?
Absolutely. Because I mean, obviously throughout the school year, we're having issues with our youth. And if they have all this time off and all this time on their hands, anything is possible. And so I just want to make sure that our youth know that they can get involved. And there's stuff for them to do all day, every day. And I just want the parents to be equipped with that information.
Okay, let me ask you this question, because just the skeptic and the investigative reporter in me. This Buffalo School District has a $90 million hole. The city of Buffalo facing anywhere between $40 to $60 million in a shortfall. So how do we fund this, and where does that money come from to get these kids into programs?
Yeah, I mean, we have to be creative. Again, for me, it is about building a bigger table. I know I say this, but it is very important because, yes, the district is facing, deficits and things like that. But are we reaching outside of our own minds, right? We can't just say, this is what we have, so this is all we can do. That is not true. You actually can reach outside of that. There are organizations operating all over the city of Buffalo that provide programming that Buffalo Public Schools needs, right? Why are we not reaching out to them? They're getting state funding to run these programs. Then let them come in and run those programs for you so you don't have to pay for them. Be creative.
Smart.
Right? That's what it's about for me. You have to be creative in the way that we make sure that our youth have what they need.
We've got about 3 minutes left here, and I know, Katie, you mentioned that you wanted to ask about the budget in particular. You were very outspoken when it came to the budget, in particular as it relates to the Masten district. Obviously, you represent the district.
Of course.
But the fact that this was kind of rubber stamped, in your words, throughout previous administrations or previous council administrations. We got here, but how do we move forward?
Well, and you came into this, right? Like we had Mitch Nowakowski recently, and you came into this situation. Now, here's the information you have. You're going to be facing this huge budget hole. So how do we dig out of this? And what did you feel up against when you found out information?
Right. Well, for me, it's, again, going back to being creative, right? That's to answer your first question. That's how we get out of this. We have to be creative in the way that we're finding revenue. We have to find different revenue streams, and it can't just be on the backs of the residents of the city of Buffalo. That, for me, is a no-go.
So are we talking we're talking increased fees, or are we talking, what are we talking?
I mean, there's all types of things, right? We're talking tax breaks that people are getting. We have to come in on that, right? Yes, tax breaks are great because they create jobs, and we're building buildings, and our, community is starting to look nicer. But quite frankly, the east side of Buffalo is looking worse. It's not looking nicer anywhere over there, but people are getting tax breaks. So how are we going back on that? How are we getting money for that? How we can raise fees? I just submitted a resolution to raise fees on food stores in our community. We are completely oversaturated with food stores in our community, and majority of them don't sell anything nutritional for our children and our families
What
to
kind
eat.
of fees then?
And so they have to pay fees in order to open a business in anywhere in the city of Buffalo. And so we are actually on the low end of that in comparison with our partners in Rochester and Syracuse. And so, yes, raise those fees to make it on par with what other cities are doing. And so I just submitted that resolution because we have to find creative ways, and it can't just be on the backs of residents. And that for me was a no-go. And that's why, I was definitely angry because for me, we need to start planning these budgets years out. It can't just be within the year.
It's like poor planning becomes our emergency, right?
And it can't be the residents' emergency, right? Because this is their community. They're already paying taxes. We can't just keep raising taxes on the residents. That's not fair to them.
And I mean, having lived in this community, I know we have to go, but for a long time, we've seen what a budgeting emergency can lead to.
Yes, we all have.
Zeneta, thank you so much for joining us.
What a pleasure.
Like I said, I mean,
Thank you for having
I'd love
me.
to have you on the cup.
I was talking to my friend Mike Reed over here, and he's like, "Oh, how long do you think you're going to have Zeneta on?" I'm like, "Oh, 10 minutes."
You never know.
And here we are.
Anyway, I truly admire you. I love your tenacity and I love your spirit. So I'm so glad that you were able to join us.
Don't
Thank you
forget
both.
about everything that's happening at MLK Park on Saturday.
Yes, Saturday is the parade, and Wednesday is the Masten family reunion. See you there.
Have a great day, everyone.